This week's keywords. So this week's topics are, we have a short recapitulation for what we've learned so far. We will discuss transparency and reporting, ISO 26000 and corporate governance. So these are the keywords of this week. When we give a recapitulation so far, what have we learned of corporate social responsibility? Well, we can define it as follows: a conscious direction of business activities towards creating values in 3 dimensions, referred to with triple P, for the longer term by finding a balance for the interests of all stakeholders. And for this balance, transparency towards all stakeholders and society at large is very important. So we now add next important keywords to the definition of CSR, which is transparency. So when I wake you up in the middle of the night and say CSR, the first things that come into your mind are triple P, longer term, stakeholder and transparency. And transparency has to do with responsibility, because responsibility, the word responsibility refers to respond, which is to answer. So responsibility has to do with answering questions, legitimate questions. And responsibility also means that you are accountable for your actions, that you are accountable for what you've done. And transparent is being open about what you are doing and why you are doing so. So transparency always also asks for a proactive attitude. And in practice, transparency has to do with reporting, so publishing reports and answering to questions or even criticism from your stakeholders. So when you're criticized, you don't say it's none of your business. No, you try to respond to the questions that are asked for. We see that since the 90s of the last century, more and more companies have started publishing reports on CSR. And since about 15 years or so, we have the Global Reporting Initiative. The abbreviation is GRI, which is a non-governmental organization, and it was initiated by companies, mainly American companies. But now it's a worldwide initiative. And the goal of this initiative is to get a standard, an international standard for reporting about CSR. So the Global Reporting Initiative has made a framework for reporting on CSR issues. And the importance of this initiative is that it makes possible to benchmark companies, to compare them, and of course they can demonstrate that they are really corporate social responsible. And one of the results of this initiative is that companies try to quantify their performances. So there are key performance indicators developed for value creating in the 3 dimensions. So I give you 2 examples of key performance indicators. In the social dimension, it can be the illness rate of your employees, which is a percentage, of course. And of course, in the environmental dimension, in the planet dimension, for example, CO2 emission is a very important key performance indicator. And of course, all in percentages, so CO2 emission per kiloton or per kilometer. So in the RESVIA plus D competencies, you see our responsibility, and one of the indicators is that you are held personally accountable with respect to society, meaning that you are transparent towards society. A more recent initiative to improve transparency is ISO 26000. And ISO is the International Standardization Organization. And ISO 26000 is the standard, the international standard for CSR. And in the PowerPoint you can hyperlink to the website of CSR or on the Blackboard site. And one of the new keywords which you will find in this definition of CSR, in this standard for CSR, is corporate governance. And with corporate governance is meant, as a matter of fact, good governance. So it's about governing your company, and corporate governance is doing this in a decent, meaning ethical way, so with respect for moral values. And for good governance, transparency is also a necessity. So because your stakeholders can only check if you're really governing your company in a good way, in a decent way, when you are transparent about the way you're acting. In the book of Roorda, there's a new definition of CSR given, a new abbreviation ESG, referring to ecological, social and governance. So when you want to be a good company, you have to think ecological, socially, and you have to think about your governance.